Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. Now I know I've done several videos on HGH, but I'm just going to give like the full overview rundown. I'm talking everything that I can possibly think of that I can fit into a video. Steroids versus HGH, talking about your natural growth hormone, medical uses, benefits, side effects, whether you should use it, dosing, fakes and counterfeits, you name it. I'm going to try to cover it all as quickly as I can, but with as much detail as I can. Now, human growth hormone is also known as HGH, somatropin, neutropin. It's a peptide hormone, and what it does is it stimulates growth on the cellular level. It's a protein which has endocrine functions in living animals, and it's synthesized in cells from amino acids. Now, growth hormones actually stimulate cell reproduction and cell regeneration in humans and animals. Now, in the fitness world, it's used across the spectrum as a performance-enhancing drug, as we all know, and the non-fitness world, it's used as an anti-aging compound. Now, let's talk about steroids versus HGH. One of the main things that's going to separate steroids from growth hormone is that growth hormone is capable of using mitogen to help you grow. Now, mitogen is a chemical substance which encourages cells to grow and to divide. So one cell can turn into two cells and so on and so forth. This isn't the case with anabolic steroids, which generally work on a principle of increased testosterone and decreased cortisol levels. Now, we need to look at a historical perspective here. Years ago, professional bodybuilders typically weighed 80 to 100 pounds less than the absolute monsters that we see today, but they used a lot of steroids. So in the last 30 years, anabolic steroids have stayed the same. So what changed? How did professional bodybuilders get so huge? Now, some reasons for the growth are advancements in nutrition, knowledge, workouts, but the reason is the abuse of human growth hormone and insulin. And it would not be possible for pros to compete against peers without the use of growth hormone. And in fact, many pros have admitted to using in excess of 20 IUs per day, which is absolutely asinine, by the way. Now, let's talk about natural growth hormone. Growth hormone is produced naturally in your body, but it starts dropping off as you get older, especially after you get past that 30-year-old marker. Now, similar to testosterone, the amount of GH that is produced by the body is going to be dictated by our genetics, right? And our lifestyle, as well as the environment that we're in. The pituitary glands are responsible for producing growth hormone, and it has two sections, the anterior and the posterior. Actually, growth hormone is actually secreted by the anterior part. Now, the best way to maintain naturally, healthy HGH levels in the body is to be sexually active, to work out often, to eat a healthy diet, to sleep well, and get plenty of sleep. Now, medically, human growth hormone is used to help the children that are suffering from growth disorders and to supplement adults who have growth hormone deficiency. So, for example, I knew a 14-year-old when I was in high school who was extremely short, looked very young for his age, and he was, prescribed HGH. Now, in addition, it's regularly prescribed to HIV patients to help them maintain muscle mass and to stay healthy from, muscle wastage. It's definitely going to occur with a disease like that. Since HGH is far more expensive than testosterone, HIV patients tend to actually resell it to bodybuilders to make a profit. Now, as a result, a lot of the pharmaceutical HGH on the black market actually comes from HIV patients, so be aware of that. Now, let's talk about the risk of buying it and how to avoid fakes. Now, because HGH comes in a powder form and it's so expensive, it's obviously opened a big black market for counterfeits. There are many fake HGH kits out there, many of which contain HCG instead, or some other white powders, and are sold at a high price that are just defrauding everybody. And you got to be very careful to use a reliable source, because a single kit can be up to $700. It might not barely last you a month. Okay, now you can get some cheaper. I'm just saying, this is how high it can be charged. It's like another car payment. In fact, more. Now, professional bodybuilders will often use more than a few kits per month, and the cost can run well into the thousands per month to use it properly. For comparison, an amp of a long ester testosterone can be found for, $2 to $10, and each amp can last you a week. That's, we're talking amps, not vials, not 10 milliliter vials here, but even a 10 milliliter vial, if you get a good source, $50, $60, if that. Some people sell it cheaper, and it's not fake. So another big difference in HGH is that it can take quite a while to show results, so it's recommended to run 2 IUs to 10 IUs per day for at least 6 months, at least. With pro bodybuilders running up to and over 20 IUs a day, which I said was asinine. Now, on various forums, you're going to see different strategies, including 5 days on and 2 days off, which just merely saves the person money. It's not effective as running it properly, which is every day. And in addition, I have seen 3 times a week protocols at higher doses each time to save on injections. Now, how you decide to use HGH is important because it's something that you can be impatient with, and it's crucial that you make sure your source is selling you legitimate HGH. Now, let me just cover some benefits real quick. Faster recovery, improved cholesterol levels, increased endurance and performance when you're in the gym. We got higher energy levels, increased libido, improvements in the immune system, improvements in skin, a lot smoother skin, increased metabolism, increased fat loss, and a deeper sleep. Now, many pro athletes in any sport, use HGH, and the NFL didn't test for it for a very long time, as many of you know, but recently they actually began a testing program. They had a pilot testing program that actually started a program, and it's logical that every player would be using some growth agent to give them an advantage. It's no wonder that the players are a lot bigger, faster, and stronger than they were 20 years ago, and why they're able to recover from injuries so much faster, which is why people like Andy Pettitte, for example, used it in baseball and things like that. Now, besides the cost and counterfeited HGH being sold, there's other issues, though, with HGH use. Okay, there's side effects that can occur. You could have hypoglycemia. You could have an achy feeling when you're waking, pain in your joints, water retention, carpal tunnel syndrome. You could get really lethargic during the day and have to take naps. Now, long-term use has been linked to organ growth. So, if you see professional bodybuilders with 4% body fat and 8-pack abs, but their stomach looks like a beer gut, well, that's growth hormone, abuse showing. It's a HGH gut. Now, we talk about cancer here. We can assume that since growth hormone multiplies cells, that use of HGH might increase the chances of cancer. And there might not be concrete evidence to show this, but we can make educated guesses that this would be possible. It's not the growth hormone will directly cause cancer, but the fact that it can accelerate the growth of cancer should be explored further. Now, there are studies that link HGH use to some potential cancer growth, but they need to be explored a lot further. So don't think that I'm, going there. I'm just telling you that it's possible. Now, let's stay unbiased here because we're talking about the steroid industry, and almost anything, when abused, can cause side effects, including cancer. Try taking a full bottle of aspirin and see what happens, okay? Because you won't see what happens because it'll fucking kill you. And it's just a fact of life that we need to take everything in perspective and be careful with the dosages and durations of drugs that we're taking. Now, who should and shouldn't use it? Well, it's recommended in the bodybuilding community that HGH should not be used by guys that are a lot younger, and it's recommended you not use HGH until you feel like you're ready to take that next step up. This generally means that you're over 30 years old and at least you're training for a good 5 years at the minimum, okay? Anabolic steroids can give you a lot of the same benefits at a far cheaper price, so remember that. Now, dosing ranges can go from, like I said, 2 IUs to 20 IUs a day for professional bodybuilders. It's a good idea to run at a minimum of 6 months. A worry some users have is that growth suppression can happen, which is a good reason why guys are going to run a dose of T3 at 25 to 125 micrograms a day, something like that. While on growth hormones, some people go with T4 instead. If you really want to get large, insulin is something that people use with HGH. I don't recommend it, but it does aid in shuttling in nutrients into the muscles. And many advanced bodybuilders are going to stack steroids, HGH, and insulin together, which I obviously don't recommend. Steroids and HGH, completely fine. I don't get into the insulin thing, but that's each to their own. The bottom line here is this. You have to make your decisions. Everybody's going to make their own. Just do it wisely. Run things properly. Don't abuse them, and you're obviously going to have a better chance of health and longevity. So, that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.